Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September meeting of the Wilmot Township Committee of Adjustment. I would like to introduce the members of our committee, and in no particular order, we have Mr. Tyler Bowman, Mr. Steve Miller, Ms. Louise Lalonde, and Mr. Peter Rowe. My name is Wayne Roth. We also have with us this evening Mr. Andrew Martin, who is the manager of planning and the CDO for the township, as well as Mr. Cameron Miller, who's a senior planner for the township as well. We are an independent body appointed by Wilmot Township Council, and we have the authority to make minor changes to existing zoning regulations and to approve some changes to existing non-conforming uses and to give consent. Each applicant will be informed of the decision within 10 days, and with that decision will be the instructions on how the decision can be appealed. Any decision made by this committee can be appealed to the local planning appeal board, who will then hold a meeting and make a final and binding decision. If a decision on the minor variance or consent is not appealed, it will become final and binding after 20 days from the date of this meeting. The format of the meeting will be as follows. We will ask Mr. Miller to introduce the application. And after that, the applicant will be invited to add any additional comments if they wish to do so. Then we will give the opportunity to anyone else in the audience to comment on the application. Committee members will then have the opportunity to question and comment on the application, and then we will make a decision. Before we begin, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest this evening? Seeing none, I will then ask Mr. Miller to introduce the first application.
I just, before we start.
I'm sorry, Mr. Martin.
Yeah, I was just saying if we can just, the territorial
I'm sorry.
acknowledgement.
I haven't read the territorial acknowledgement, and I don't believe there's anyone in the audience that wishes to do so this evening. Is there, Mr. Martin? I will then do so. We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and to Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, the Métis and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community. Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. The first application is A11/22 concerning 966-907 Oxford Waterloo Road. So this application is proposing to allow for an additional dwelling unit detached to be located closer to the road than the main building. So the subject property is currently developed with a single detached dwelling and a barn, and the applicant is again proposing to construct an additional dwelling unit in front of the main building. The township zoning bylaw states that an additional dwelling unit cannot be located in front of the main building. So with the placement of the existing buildings at the very rear of the property, staff are of the opinion that allowing the additional dwelling unit to be located slightly ahead of the main building meets the intent of the additional dwelling unit regulations, and staff did not receive any concerns and are recommending that it be approved.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant or his or her representative wish to address committee on this matter?
I do see a hand raised, and I will join the applicant right now. You'll just need to unmute yourself if you wish to speak.
Hello there.
Yes, good evening.
Nice to meet you all.
We don't see you.
Oh, no? How do I turn the video on? Sorry, I'm new to the Zoom. We use Microsoft Teams.
Oh,
Oh,
Well,
start video. There we go. There we go. Hello.
There we go. Good. Okay. Now we're really in business. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I guess all I wanted to say was we're building a dwelling for my mother-in-law. So it'll just be a small house. And just given the location of all the stuff on the property, the well and the septic lines, and the barn, it doesn't give us a place to put it. So we just wanted to move it forward a bit. Now the house is at the very, very back of the property. I don't know if you can see the drawing that we provided.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we all have that.
Yeah, it's at the very back, so it just doesn't allow us anywhere to put it. So that's why we're applying for this minor variance. I'm Lucas. I'm new to the neighborhood, though. Nice to meet all you.
Good. Well, welcome to the township. Thank you for that. Is there any questions of the applicant by members of committee? Seeing none. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to comment on this application? We don't see anyone. Thank you very much. I'll open it up to members of committee. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, I would then ask for someone to bring forth the motion to approve. Moved by Ms. Lalonde, seconded by Mr. Rowe. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Miller, would you introduce the second application?
Thank you, Mr. Roth. The next application is A12/22 concerning 65 Mitchell Street, New Dundee. So this application is proposing to amend the regulations for a main building. So in order to expand the living area of the existing dwelling on the property and also to provide some off-street parking, the applicants are proposing an addition to the home, which would be complete with a one-car garage and a carport. So the existing location of the home does have legal non-complying status, as it does predate the township zoning bylaw, but any new additions such as the carport and garage that's planned would have to comply with the front yard setback of 7.6 meters. And so to accommodate for space for a new septic system and off-street parking, the proposed addition cannot realistically be placed elsewhere on the property, and staff are of the opinion that the reduction in setbacks are minor overall and would result in improvement to an existing situation on the property, recognizing that there is no other feasible alternative to locate this addition. In circulating the application, staff did not receive any concerns and are recommending that it be approved.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant or his or her representative wish to address the committee on this matter?
Yes, I'm going to join them right now.
Good evening, sir. Welcome to the meeting, and go ahead and with your comments.
Cool. How's it going? Nice to meet you all. I think Cameron covered that pretty well. We're also new to this township. My wife and I, we just moved here, and I think we picked a pretty difficult property, but I think Cameron covered that pretty well as far as kind of where we have to build. Currently, we have a grandfathered in driveway out the front, which is council land. So realistically, to try and add like the 2 parking spaces and a bit of additional dwelling, with the limitations of the block size and the septic, we were kind of left at kind of the one option. So yeah, I think the drawings and what Cameron said kind of speak for itself.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any question of the applicant? Seeing none. Mr. Martin, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to comment on this application?
I don't see any hands.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll open it up to members of committee. Any comments, concerns, or questions? Seeing none, I would then ask someone to bring forth a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Bowman, seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And now, Mr. Miller, would you introduce the next application?
Thank you, Mr. Roth. The last application is A13/22 concerning 1870 Bleams Road. So this application is proposing to reduce the minimum distance from an existing manure tank to the nearest lot line from 23 meters to 21.6 meters. So in May of 2021, the township issued a building permit for a liquid manure tank to serve an existing dairy barn operation. And as part of the building permit application, minimum distance 2 calculation was performed to determine the minimum distance that this tank could be to surrounding land uses and the other lot lines. The calculation specified a minimum distance of 23 meters to the nearest lot line, whereas it was determined after construction that the actual distance surveyed is 21.6 meters. So staff did not receive any concerns and are recommending that the application be approved.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from committee members regarding the application? Mr. Bowman?
I just have one. Does this impact the neighboring property's ability to develop residences or anything on their property with a reduced setback?
To Mr. Bowman, no. The minimum distance to the nearest neighboring dwellings are exceeded. To the dwelling in particular, 1870, the reason in part why this reduction is necessary, because in trying to ensure the minimum distance was maintained to this nearest neighboring dwelling, they actually ended up too far in the opposite direction, and we're now too close to that other lot line. And then the respective dwelling on that other property, they do exceed that minimum distance as well. So no, there is no impact.
In the future, further development, is it impacting any of that of the neighboring property? Or?
No, if they were to ultimately change the location of the dwelling drastically, then a calculation would have to be redone, and minimum distance 1 to realize the impact from the house to the barn and vice versa.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Are any other questions? If not, does the applicant wish to comment on this application? Mr. Martin?
It's either in attendance, but I don't see any hands raised. So
Okay.
I take that as a no.
All right, thank you very much. Is anyone else in the audience that wishes to comment on this application? Seeing none, right, Mr. Martin? Okay,
That's correct.
I'll open it to members of committee. Any comments or questions on the application at this point in time? Seeing none, I would then ask someone to bring forth a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Rowe, seconded by Ms. Lalonde. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now, the last order of business we have to do is to approve the minutes of our last meeting. Would someone bring forth the motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Ms. Lalonde, seconded by Mr. Bowman. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you all for your participation in the meeting this evening. Mr. Miller or to Mr. Martin, do we have any applications for the month of October?
We are expecting at least one to be filed, but nothing has been filed as of yet. We would target October 5th. October 5th is the potential date? Yes.
Does that suit everyone?
That works for me.
Looks like everyone is in agreement.
Should be okay.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Okay, we'll wait to hear from you, Mr. Miller, then for October the 5th.
Great.
Okay, thank you all for participating. Stay healthy and stay safe. Good evening, all.
Have a good night.